Hello. Is this thing on? Yes. So, in a video that I made a little while ago, I spoke a little bit about union organizing. I made a video giving a few bits of advice on how to organize a union from scratch. And I also made a follow up to that about the importance of using union organizing as a means to build revolutionary consciousness, or to build class consciousness more generally. And I want to say a few more words about that, specifically trying to think about the concept of the mass line as an organizational technique that functions as a more general social principle rather than like just pertaining to one specific social formation, like a party, for example, is where Mao applied it in his case. But yeah, I think that it functions across social formations, like a party or a union, for example, and the idea of raising consciousness from these three different levels can pertain to different contexts. So, I mean, I'm a big advocate for joining unions and participating in labor activity for many different reasons. Like, it is very good for leftists to be involved with other people. In fact, it is necessary, you might say, for a socialist to have some kind of social network, some kind of social connection to other people. And there's a lot that we can learn from like labor organizers, just in terms of discipline and how to structure organizations, how to talk to people, how to use rhetoric to convince people of your ideas or whatever. And obviously, like, these labor organizers are on our side. They are by and large leftists as well. So, there are all kinds of reasons. Just in terms of living a happier life, it is good to have friends who share some fundamental social ideals as you, like union organizers, union activists, members of the IWW, for example. I've made great friends through being involved with the IWW, and I recommend that everybody, get involved with some kind of labor activism kind of organization. But as revolutionary communists, as Marxists, I think we all understand that labor economism is limited. It is limited to the horizon of the value form. Really, all that labor unionism is doing is trying to ameliorate the conditions of the working class, but as defined by the ruling class. It is just trying to get the workers a better lot within their present context without actually trying to change that context. And obviously, there's a lot to be said. I'm not knocking the idea of trying to help people in their immediate conditions. That's great and fine, but we're trying to do a revolution here. We're not trying to do a reformism here. So labor activism does have a certain limit to it. Its horizon is limited. So yeah, I think that the idea of the mass line helps here, because the idea of the mass line is that you have three different divisions within any given social context. You have the backwards, which are meant to be isolated. You have the intermediate, who you should be working to win over to whatever the given cause is. And then you have the advanced, who are meant to be united. Sorry, the cat is meowing. He's a real weird looking one. Get out of here, Stanley. Anyway, sorry for that. What was I saying? Yeah, so you have these three different divisions within any given social context, and you should be working to, win over, blah, 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 isolate, unite. But that works across social formations, as I said. You can be within the context of starting a union organization, for example, from scratch in your workplace. The first step is really to identify the people who are going to be like dangerous to your movement, like snitches and like people who would actively campaign against a union organization, whether or not they would snitch on you, but people who would be harmful to the movement. And then the next step is to get the people who would join you in trying to mobilize other people, like people who don't really need ideological convincing. They don't really need to be won over in any way. They just need to be informed that there is now a movement underway. Those are the advanced, and they can be used, like you unite the advanced in order to form, shall we say, a vanguard organization. And then, that little core group can work to win over the bulk of the population, generally speaking, can be classified as intermediate. But then, as I've said, like the union organization, as in principle, is kind of limited. So where do you go from there? Say that you get your union in your workplace, you win over everybody. There's no backwards, there's no intermediate. Like everybody at your workplace is part of the advanced core. They're all fully on board with the union. They love like the Wobblies. They're all dual carders, whatever. They're all like fully on board. So what do you do from there? Like, are you going to let that energy dissipate? You can go a step further and maybe like turn your union into like a workers' co-op or something, try to like actually take over the company. That's all fine and dandy, but there's a limit to that. Even if you were to like extend that and try to influence other workplaces that are within the same sector or industry as yours, and try to start like a broader social movement, like even if you got everybody in the world to be, every work site in the world to be a workers' co-op or whatever, then you would still not really change the terms of the capitalist mode of production. You would still be dominated by an abstract value form, the inverted form. So where do you go from there? You need a revolutionary organization. You need to use the union as a pipeline to something else, which is meant to be the Revolutionary Party. So that is where like the advanced in one context can become like the intermediate in another context. You have some like greater structure, a revolutionary party whose vision like extends beyond just like starting unions and getting better conditions for workers within their present context, but without actually altering that context in any kind of fundamental way. You need to like have a further plan of like bringing people on board with a greater project, so that their energy can constantly be augmented, so that it doesn't just go to waste, and become nullified. But then, say that you don't have a revolutionary party wherever you are, which is very likely. There are not many of them, at least not many good ones. Certainly not really any effective ones, at least, here in the capitalist centers. But, at that point, you can like just start an organizing committee. You get, you like get people on board with your union drive at your workplace. They're all like ideologically committed, fired up. They want to do something there, but they don't know what. You don't know what necessarily. So you just start a group whose like principle, whose objective is to like go one step beyond, to begin to articulate a vision of revolution that actually pertains to your particular context. Whether or not there's a revolutionary party chapter like in your town, there's probably not, but you can start that chapter. You can start a revolutionary party. And at some point, like if everybody in every town is doing this in an isolated manner, articulating a vision of revolution that pertains to their context, then at some point, you need to link up and form a greater structure, a greater organization that can articulate a vision that subsumes all of these particular contexts within a larger vision of an international revolution. And once you have your organizing committee, once you begin with your comrades articulating a vision of revolution that pertains to your local context, then you can from there begin to like suss out your particular Marxist, communist, sectarian position. Are you going to be a communization group, or are you going to be a Marxist-Leninist group, or are you going to do the right thing and be a Maoist group? And once you begin to like solidify your views and understand what your position is, then you can like do some research and like figure out groups, or like even just like start a group, and like just it can spread and snowball from there. And that's how we're going to do a revolution.